Good evening, everybody. It's October
Good
6th,
evening.
2025. This is the Town of Dartmouth Planned Planning Board meeting. As previously stated, the meeting is being recorded, and the Planning Board voted in public meeting to continue meeting virtually in accordance with the Governor's 2025 extension of the virtual/hybrid open meeting option through June 30th, 2027. Unless otherwise noted, our meetings are virtual. Good evening, and I'll start with a roll call. And before I do that, Kevin Estes will not be part of the meeting tonight. Margaret Sweet,
Here.
Lori Miller,
Here.
Helio Rosa,
Here.
Nick Cyclepatis here. All right, administrative items number 1, approval not required, PANR-25-5. This has to do with Reed Road. I'll let Dan, if he's okay with it, to bring it up to speed for us.
Sure. So this is an approval not required plan for the reconfiguration of 3 existing lots. Map 47 lot 4, which is 409 Reed Road, map 47 lot 5, which is 405 Reed Road, and map 47 lot 6, which is 383 Reed Road. This reconfiguration has 2 parts to it. One being on lots 1 and 3, there are actually 2 existing dwellings that are on the same parcel. So we're going to reconfigure that lot line. That's eligible for endorsement under section 1.104 of our subdivision regulations, which states the division of a tract of land on which 2 or more buildings were standing prior to April 7th, 1953 into separate lots, on each of which one such building remains standing. These 2 lots, house number 409, according to our assessor's vision records, 409 was built in 1935 and 405 was built in 1906, so these qualify under that. Also, there is a parcel A that is being shown that will go from lot 2 to lot 1. This will be eligible for endorsement under section 1.102, which states conveyances changing the size and shape of lots, providing that every lot so changed or affected by such change has frontage as required by the zoning bylaw or maintains existing non-conforming frontage. Lot 1 currently has its frontage required by zoning off of Florence Lane, and Lot 2 will maintain its frontage on Reed Road. So under these conditions, the plan before you is eligible for endorsement. So I would recommend the planning board vote to endorse the plan as submitted.
Thank you, Dan.
Chairman, I have a question.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is one of the houses right on the borderline?
Yes, pretty close. 0.3 feet.
Really?
Yep. The assessors actually have the building shown as being on lot 3 currently, but there's been 2 surveys which clearly state this. I guess this has been an ongoing decision, and I think the attorney's here. He might, if you're asking for any more information, but this has been an ongoing thing. But all that you need to do is provide frontage and have each lot should have 1 dwelling on it to be eligible for endorsement.
Okay.
They did add this typical plan. The above endorsement is not a determination as to conformance with zoning regulations. So any expansion of the nonconformity, that would be something they'd have to deal with a zoning enforcement officer. This is strictly for subdividing the lots under those 2 provisions that I outlined.
Right. Thank you.
Lori, I appreciate that. I'd like to just ask the attorney or representative of this to perhaps clarify and expand upon Lori's question, because I'm sure if any members of the board and I see it with a question, the public would too. I realize it's an ANR, but just for clarification and the validity of the board and what's before us, could you just speak on behalf of that?
I can. Jim Marsh.
I appreciate that.
I represent the owners of 409. This is Sarah Petipus, Allen, and Susan Davis. This has been a long and contested land court quiet title action. There's been questions as to where the lot line is actually located. This is the lot line between 405 and 409. It's never been a question as to whether there's 2 homes or residential structures on 409, but just as to the lot line on 405 in its proximity to the structure. So to sort of fix this situation and settle the matter with the parties, this is the line that's been agreed upon.
Thank you.
Jim, I appreciate that. I just want to ask you, can you make any comment as it relates to the building and the property line? Is there 0.3 feet? And the other side of that, I mean, is there
It's-
anything in question as it relates to that 0.3 feet?
As to the actual distance between the structure and the new line,
Yes.
it's tight. I don't know the specific as to it being that tight. I know that there would be space between the structure and the new line.
Okay. All right. That's what I wanted to hear, not just for us, but for the public as well, to expand upon it. I thank you. Are there any other questions for this? Once again, ANR from the board? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve these, this A&R.
Motion made to approve the ANR as presented by Lori. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Helio Rosa. Lori Miller,
Yes.
Helio Rosa,
Yes.
Margaret Sweet,
Yes.
Nick Psychopatis. Yes. Jim, I appreciate you.
Thank you so much. Have a great night.
Good night and thank you. All right. This brings us to agenda item number 2. I just want to share with the board, it's on here as an appointment. I'm assuming this has a little bit to do or a lot to do with the timing of Dan and Ross receiving materials and adding it to the agenda. It is Christian Farland, representative for 676 Dartmouth Street. And before we begin discussing this, couple of things.
Mr. Chairman, if I could just one quick thing before you start.
Yeah,
This,
absolutely.
this was on the agenda, our last Zoom meeting that you were in attendance. So this had been submitted a couple weeks prior, just in case there was any confusion on that.
Okay, so just to clarify, this was on the agenda for then, forwarded till now, and then with all due respect, was it last meeting that Christian was on the agenda but did not participate?
Correct.
Okay,
And there's also new information that came in after the packets came out. Correct?
Correct. That's what I emailed to the board, just as an FYI, if it is presented, but that was not available to the board prior to the creation of the packet.
right.
So, Dan, so the previous plan is what was, Mr. Fallon was supposed to come before us at the last meeting, the previous plan. Then he sent another plan in on Friday, right?
On Friday, correct.
Okay, so if we were gonna talk about anyone, it would be the previous plan, not the plan he sent on Friday, because we didn't get that in time.
That would be up to the board, yes.
Yes, okay, thank you.
Well, a couple of things. I want to, Christian, I am sorry that you are subject to what I'm about to share, but I want to share something with the board, Dan and Ross. The board is comprised of members who have different roles and obligations daily. Few of us are engineers and/or developers, almost none of us. And there is a deadline on Wednesday for the materials, mostly because the gentleman, Dan and Ross, put together the packet, disseminate the packet in a timely manner for us to get to it. And it's as silly as it sounds, when we receive things late with an upcoming weekend and the threat of open meeting violations, it's not easy to conference a couple of people and discuss or review something. It's done on an individual basis as we reach out to each other. I'm dragging my tongue. I don't want to set a precedent that we should discuss this one and not discuss others or vice versa. So I want to ask the board, Wednesday's the deadline. do we want to discuss this at this point in time, or do we want to hold off until the next meeting?
I'm not gonna discuss it, Mr. Chairman, because I didn't get this in time. And I don't think that that's fair to the board, okay? And the last time Mr. Fallon didn't come, I don't know if he called, did he call you the following day, Dan?
Yes.
Okay, but no calls were made. We did our best to hear him. Dan put him down on the agenda. He never showed. So I'm not gonna discuss the new plan because I didn't really look at the new plan. So I will not discuss the new plan.
Mr. Chairman, can I speak?
Sure.
This is addressed, what I'm going to say is going to be addressed to all engineers, all lawyers, and all land developers. It's not just to Mr. Fallon. He happens to be the one who's on the target right now. But it's printed very clearly in our rules and regulations that everything is to be given to the planning director by Wednesday so that it can be put into our packet so we can look through it. If there's something, I do go out and look at the sites. So if I get the packet on Thursday or Friday, it gives me time to go out and look at the site. This was one site I went and looked at prior to our last meeting. And it doesn't give me any time to go look at it because I didn't receive it in a timely fashion. One of the things that I fought for when I was on the planning board previously was that we have rules and regs, and our engineers and lawyers and developers need to follow them. And if we don't get the packet, or they don't get it to us in a timely fashion, I'm sorry, I'm not going to vote on it for several reasons. We don't have time to get out and look at it. Not only that, the public doesn't have time to look at it to give us any type of response because they get to see the agenda and what's in the packet, and that's what they think is going to be happening, and it's not, because now we've received something different. So it's not fair to the public, and it's not fair to us as planning board members, and it's not fair to our department head and assistant to have to now scramble around and do last minute work on a plan. So I'm sorry. I hate to have this fall on one particular engineer, but it's the way it's going to be.
Okay, thank you, Lori. Christian? With
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, board members. For the record, Christian Fallon, Principal Engineer and President with Fallon Corp. Yeah, I apologize for the last meeting. Unfortunately, I couldn't get on, but we're here tonight informally, so it doesn't really matter what plan we go over tonight. So if Mike Minow, if you can, Mike McVeigh, if you could share the plan.
I'm here. If I could, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, we're happy to hear what you would like to share.
Okay. Just one moment.
With the anticipation that no vote will be made tonight.
Yeah, there's not a vote. There's nothing really on the table for you guys to vote for. If there was, there would have had been a public hearing for it, with the butters being notified.
Mr. Chairman, can I just say something real quick?
Sure.
So this was a question that we discussed at length at the last meeting. So what they're looking for is the board's guidance on a reduction in parking for the existing facility at 676 Dartmouth Street. There was a plan approved under a special permit for over 55. There was a certain amount of parking that was approved under that. It was not built that way. We in the planning department have no record of why that change happened. So it was requested of the applicant at the last meeting to come before the board to discuss why this situation happened, and to get guidance going forward on on how to proceed. Ordinarily, if this would have been in the process, they could have filed another special permit for reduction in parking, similar to what we did on Delano Street. Delano Apartments next door, where they did a reduction in parking. So that's why they were asked to come before the last meeting and advised to give them one more shot to come to this meeting. So that's a little backstory on why they're here presenting today, and just basically just to get the board's feedback on how to proceed.
And what
That's
about,
fair.
excuse me, what about if we're not gonna give a feedback, Dan? Because we didn't get the plan in time.
Well, then it's up to them to submit an application, and then the board will act on that application.
Okay, thank you, Dan.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Mr. Fallon, could you explain to me, the board approved a plan, and that plan is what should have been built out, and it wasn't. Somehow, someone changed the building out and built something differently. And then you got occupancy permits on a plan that was built wrong. How did that happen?
If I may, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, of course.
So we did get approval for the approved site plans. During construction, the applicant realized that there was a lot more parking in that parking lot that wasn't being utilized. And so we prepared a sketch plan, which I provided to Dan, which was back in June of 2019, the plan that we presented the first time. That plan was provided to the town planner at the time, Christine, which I did forward the emails to Dan, so he has record of them, that we did have a discussion about this plan. She sent it over to engineering. Engineering didn't have any problem with it because we were taking away pavement and adding more grass and landscaping. They didn't have a problem with it. Christine didn't have a problem with it. So she at the time said we were okay to proceed with it. I guess she never brought it to the planning board, but that's the plan that we went forward with, and it was provided to the acting town planner at the time. So this isn't something that the owner just decided not to do. It was actually approved through the engineering department and town planner. And I sent all those emails and correspondence with the engineering department and planning department over to Dan, just to prove our point that it wasn't just done blatantly, not created.
But we have no plans, we have no approved plans in the planning board or down in the building department or at the registry of deeds. All of those
understand.
plans are the original plans that were approved by the planning board.
Yep, I fully understand that, and that's why we're here tonight. Which we wanted to go over what we were thinking of doing. But if the planning board doesn't want to review what we're going to be presenting and applying for, that I'll leave that up to you. But it's basically ghost parking like we did with Delano Apartments, because this building has been fully occupied for the past 5 years, and there's been plenty of parking spaces in the parking lot. One thing that we were gonna do is there's ADA parking in the basement, and there's one spot outside. We were gonna add 2 more closest to the building, to make sure that there's 4 ADA parking spaces for this property.
Christian,
Thank you,
if I,
Peter.
does anybody, can I just share, board and Christian, I just want to share this. The voice of reason in me says it's on the agenda and they're here. I respect the fact that we as board members got this last minute, and we probably want to visit the site and have time to collaborate individually and or be constructive about this. in all respect of the town, our agenda, as well as us and the presenter, Christian, my opinion is you present something concisely to us about why you're here tonight, and we provide guidance to you subject to this matter at the next meeting. I think that mutually allows you to speak, share why you're here, and then with respect to the board members and the precedent we're trying to share, that any and all materials that we're going to discuss in subsequent meetings have to be received by the town on Wednesdays at 5 p.m. in part of our packet. I think it's a mutual and respectful conclusion to perhaps any disconnect that's here tonight. Are you good with that?
Absolutely.
So why don't you give us a rather concise summary, you started to, of why you're here and what the goal is and what's not now and what's going to be after. And then we can take it from there at the next meeting. And everyone has a chance to review it both physically, on site, and on paper.
Sounds good. Mike, can you share the?
Yeah, absolutely.
plan.
Mike McVeigh from Arky and Walsh, by the way.
Thank you,
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to do my best to share this now. Can you see that plan?
I do not have a screen share yet.
Do you see that?
I
It's
think
starting.
Yeah,
Now we do.
I'm going to back up. Christian, just give me some direction.
Yep, that's fine. You can leave it right there.
Okay.
So this is actually the existing conditions of what is out there, what was built. This is the exact same plan that we did present to Christine at the time to make that revision. Which again, I don't know what happened with not getting it formalized, but we were always under the impression that everything was all set through the emails we had. And
Christian, can you back up? Can you just back up? I think one set of plans, because the plan that's on the screen has 2 handicap spaces right at the front of the building, and that's not what's out there.
Christian, I have the most recent plan sent.
Thanks, brother. Yeah, so that's the only thing that's proposed on here is those are the 288 parking spaces I was just talking about.
Christian, can you be more concise? Yeah, for the public, please move the cursor. Okay.
Sorry, that's me. That's
Yep,
that's me,
fine.
Mr. Chair. Sorry.
Yep.
Yep, those are the 2 parking spaces that we would, when we apply for the special permit, we will be proposing those 2 parking spaces along with 18 ghost parking spaces, which we've done in the past in Dartmouth, which demonstrates that we could build them if we needed them. So there's 11 there. There's another 7 in the back of the building. And then with the 2 proposed parking spaces, that would be 20, which would conform to the zoning of 2 spaces per unit. One thing we'll say is through past projects with Claremont, they have a lot of properties that are 55 and over, this being one of them. And the typical parking space calculation is about, 1 to 1.2 per unit. So we're providing the plan that we can demonstrate that we could do 2 per unit, which meets the zoning. However, we feel it would be adding more pavement, taking away landscaping, taking away green space for parking spaces that will never be utilized. I think wouldn't be the right thing to do, not only for the owner, but for the town as well. So we would like to file a special permit. I think we can demonstrate, through previous applications and why we feel the applicant, and why the board could approve this use, which certainly wouldn't take away, from the neighborhood, as really only affects this property itself. But Attorney McVeigh will be putting the application together, and certainly will put a narrative together, which supports the application from a legal standpoint. That's all I really have. That's all I really have tonight.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, can I make a comment?
Sure.
I wasn't going to talk on this tonight, but since you're going to bring it before us, I might as well make my comments so that you're prepared for them. I don't have a problem with the ghost parking. I've watched that site several days, on various days, and the parking is fine. So I don't have a problem with the ghost parkings in the front of the building. The ghost parking in the back, the only way you can get into that parking is you have to go through the garage, the indoor garage to get there, because that's a one-way street. That's a one-way out. You have one way in on I guess that's the west side, north side. And then it's on the other side, it's a one-way out. So the only way you can get to that ghost parking, if you should have to build it in the future, would be to go through the garage. That's not acceptable by my standards.
Christian and Michael, can you confirm that that is the only access to the most easterly ghost parking, which is for the public at the bottom right of our screen?
Yeah, currently that is a one way. However, there's certainly more than enough frontage along there to make that an entrance for both going in and going out if we ever needed to do parking back there. The intent of that gravel driveway was for the fire department. So obviously in an emergency situation, the fire department would be able to go through that one way right now. But I think if we had to build those 7 parking spaces, certainly there's more than enough room to make that entranceway large enough for cars to go in and cars to come out.
Michael, could you zoom out for a moment just to have a little better view of the entirety? And then just for the public, maybe not that far, actually. I just want to be clear to the public that if the cursor goes over the 2 proposed handicap parking spaces, the permit that you folks are seeking is to create 2 handicap parking spaces in the front of the building. If you could move your cursor there for the public. And then just north of that, you see faint lines, which they're considering ghost parking spaces to be developed at a later date per this permit. And then if we come southerly, we have another section of ghost parking spaces. And then when we go to the east, which is the back of the property, those are the remaining ghost spaces that were identified by Lori as part of a one-way and suggested by Christian Farland, the engineer, that the road that connects to the exit from the garage could be reconsidered to be its own entrance based on the frontage they have. So I think this is helpful. I don't know if you folks are pleased to be able to get this far tonight. It definitely gives us a good view. It gives us plenty of information to share with our other board member, Kevin Estes. And I think it gives everybody ample time to perhaps visit the property between now and the next meeting. Is there anything else you gentlemen wanted to share tonight?
If I could just briefly, just to appreciate the board's, I understand your frustration. I appreciate Mr. Chair allowing us to present
Sure.
In an informal manner. And I think just to summarize what Christian was saying, like, there was no, this is an experienced developer. I don't think there was ever any intent to deceive here. This was the understanding between the builder and the town at the time. It just never, for whatever reason, wasn't memorialized. We're here today. I appreciate your feedback and like to wrap it up. So thank you very much.
I appreciate the transparency. I wasn't around at the time, but the burden is on the town if a town member had such plans in their hand and they didn't perhaps make it to another member or board. I don't want to speak on behalf of that because I wasn't here, but board members, any further questions? And at a bare minimum, I'm glad we heard them because it's going to take up time on one agenda, either tonight or the next. So we're ahead of the game. Anyone else?
Mr. Chair, may I?
Sure, Hilliard.
Christian, good to see you again. So 3 questions for me. I don't know if this has been answered yet, but I guess I'm curious what triggered this review now? Why now? What is the event? 2, when you prepare a formal submittal before the town, you might want to consider an endorsement by the abutter, just to make sure that they're satisfied that the the site will not be leaning on their parking to solve any challenges that may arise to satisfy the parking need for Amelia. And then just to harp on the ghost spaces in the very back, to confirm, you would make those ghost spaces designed in a way that you could access them directly off of Edgeworth Street and not through the parking. So 3 things for me.
Yeah, so the first thing is they are with everything they have going on with Delano, they are refinancing this property. So when you refinance a property, you got to do an Alta survey, and when you do an Alta survey, title gets brought up. So the only thing they saw of record was the approval, which was a different plan than what this Alta plan depicted. And it shows 90 parking spaces versus the required 120. So banks and attorneys dig that stuff up when it comes time to refinance. So that's how it got brought up. The second thing is they do own the Walgreens property as well. And that Walgreens property has more parking than what's needed for itself. So they know that they've owned this property for some time now, and most of the parking, as you guys drive by there, you'll see is pretty vacant. And the last thing, yeah, I agree. I think, we'll have a separate emergency, for that parking in the back if we need it. Like I said, I don't think we'll ever need it, but there is plenty of room to be able to design that back there.
Thank you. I believe Margaret was going to share something.
Yes, it says what, you're gonna have that crushed stone for that back parking?
So that crushed stone, Margaret, that's already there from the fire department because they wanted to have access back there if they ever needed it. The ghost parking, we're not going to be installing anything. It's just going to be, we're just demonstrating that we could install it if we had to.
Okay. So if you had to install it, you could put pavement there.
We could put pavement there and have stormwater, and certainly if we needed parking, I think that would be the way we would go.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Unless anybody else has any questions, I think we're in a good spot, Christian and Michael, to perhaps see a revised plan that pleases everybody, with the ghost parking not being part of a one-way. And perhaps see you guys in a couple of weeks for further information, giving everyone a chance to get out there, as well as another board member to chime in if necessary. If not, it's your discretion. But I'm sorry that you guys had to hear what you heard at the beginning of this line item.
Nope. I knew it was coming.
It wasn't intentional, but I as a new member and chair, there are things that slip through, and it's not pointing at you, but none of us are retiring off of being part of the planning board. If anything, there are additional hours, and it's not just us. Perception is reality, and there's a lot of public in the town. So if perception is reality, we've got to maintain a standard, ultimately to decrease how many fingers are pointing at us. So I appreciate you listening to it. It wasn't about you guys. It's more about the formality of how materials are collected and disseminated prior to an agenda item. That's all.
Yep, I fully understand, and I appreciate all your time you guys do for the town.
All right. Anything
that's
else?
all I had. No, that's it. So
Okay.
our goal is to file a special permit as soon as we can to get on the agenda actually formally, because this is holding up the refinance of the property. So that was it.
Excellent. Much appreciated. Thank you, Christian and Michael. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, members.
Mr. Chairman, can I just get a clarification in case I get questions? So you want to see them back before the board before they submit a formal application?
I'm just suggesting that it probably wouldn't hurt here, after hearing what they heard, plus or minus a board member that will be present at the next meeting, if they wanted to revise the 7 ghost spaces to the easterly side of the property that are currently tied into an obstructive one-way, that it would be a good look for the board and for them If they
Yep.
don't need that advice and they don't want to share it and they want to go to the permit, that's fine too. I just want to call a spade a spade. That's all. I mean, it's their choice ultimately, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
ultimately, I think those were great comments, and I'm glad you guys gave us the time. So we'll make those revisions and we'll get this thing submitted.
Mr. Chair, our preference would be to file as soon as possible, and we can make whatever revisions you deem necessary.
No, I don't disagree. I just,
Okay.
in all fairness, I just wanted to share that it's your choice, which you know. But quite frankly, I think you got as much constructive criticism out of tonight that you would have if we had all visited the site this week and had time. I think it happened anyways. So obviously your discretion.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so to my board, before we proceed, I'm still on number 2 amongst us. I'll just share this and we can finish up with number 2. We will maintain the precedent that all materials have to be to Dan and Ross prior to the close of day on Wednesday. And then I will follow up with Dan and Ross at the level of the town that items that are not to become part of our packet, and perhaps something like this, the proposer needs to be contacted, that it won't be heard. We got to figure out what's objectively fair for the board and the public. So I know tonight was sensitive. I appreciate the contribution from all of us. And ultimately, with some frustration, we did act on the town's best interest by doing what we did and getting to where we are. Number 3, ongoing discussion, Dartmouth future zoning. This probably ties into number 4 somewhat, but Dan, do you want to start with this, or do you want us to begin some discussion?
Well, Mr. Chairman, we added number 3 just at the request of the board, just that keep it as an agenda item going
Right.
forward. When we get to later in the agenda, we'll talk about when the next workshop meeting is. But at the workshop meeting we had last week, it was recommended that we just put this as an item for discussion. So if something comes up prior to our next workshop meeting, we would have it on the agenda item to at least discuss and bring before the board. So I wouldn't say there's anything specifically for number 3 today. Just a placeholder for now. Number 4, we spoke real briefly at the end of the workshop meeting. We have a housing production plan committee, stakeholders committee meeting later this month, and it was recommended that the board offer up a few recommendations for housing goals. And we talked about giving it a week to let it kind of simmer in the board's brains and see what we want to come up with for goals.
Sure, I appreciate that. If you don't mind, I'll just start briefly with a question. I'm not sure if it happened yet or not, but you, I believe, had a scheduled meeting with individuals that own a large piece of commercial real estate in town. Did that happen?
Wednesday.
And did those people indicate?
This Wednesday coming up 2 days from now.
Okay, all right, so forget about that question. My question was going to be, and I'm sure you'll get a pulse on them, is if they have other similar properties where they have, and if not, do they have interest in exercising any mixed use opportunity that may exist, which you know is the goal of that conversation from my perspective, right?
Yep.
So the other thing that I wanted to suggest is between now and the next workshop, I would say absolutely do this as individuals, but if possible, for these items, kind of a blend of 3 and 4, if we could each make our way to town hall and continue what we did in the workshop. We basically finished the workshop by getting to the plans of the town, and we did not use an independent color for each of us. But I think in the next week or so, if we each make our way there, use a color in the presence of Dan or Ross, and we start to identify, even if you do not use the color throughout the entire town and say you're done. If you start to identify the application of the color for 40Y purposes, we can build, and we might go back 2 or 3 times between now and the next workshop But as we each go and we see different colors and where they are, it's going to formulate an opinion. We're going to collaborate by color and design and build what we want to get to for that next workshop. So as a result of number 3, future zoning, and ultimately our contribution to the production plan, if we do this, I believe with dialogue between Dan and Ross and where we apply these colors, we should be able to have I don't like the word guesstimate, but a guesstimate of what housing opportunity such zoning will create. I find it hard in life to do anything when you don't have a target. The target doesn't always have to be something you see. It can be something you heard or something you touch or something you drew, but you have to have a target. And right now, we just have ideas. As our target becomes objective and measurable, only then can we start to narrow the path and the housing production plan and the mixed use opportunity and the zoning changes. So that's my contribution to tonight over the next 7 to 10 days, is that we hold each other accountable and we get to town hall and we start to design the 40Y, each with a color. I'm happy to hear anyone else as it relates to 3 or 4.
I agree.
Mr. Chairman, if I could just real quick on 4.
Sure.
4 is something I need as soon as possible. I was hoping to have them today, because that meeting is the end of the month and they were looking for goals to present to that housing production plan committee meeting. That was something we've discussed over the last few meetings.
Right.
So they are looking for at least goals of the planning board in regards to housing, because they're looking to have that next meeting this month and then finalize the housing production plan by the end of the year. So we can add that to our housing production, our goals and everything else that'll go into that. So we need the goals.
Okay. Fair.
I said as soon as possible.
Why don't we have some dialogue now about this, and why don't we agree as a board, either by end of day Tuesday or end of day Wednesday, whatever Dan thinks is reasonable, that we've provided goals, perhaps 2 or 3 goals from each of us at a minimum. Is that reasonable, Dan?
Yes, and right now it can be as simple as goal, looking for a potential mixed use overlay district with inclusionary zoning. It can be broad like that, and then it can be fine-tuned amongst the housing production plan committee. Another one could be taking, like the over 55 that we saw today, making a recommendation that regulations as written to be included, a caveat that 10% would be affordable to bring inclusionary zoning into existing regulations we have. So it doesn't have to be the specific to call out we want a 40Y in this area. It's more goals, and then we will work towards those goals over the next 5 years as part of the housing production plan.
I have a question, Dan. And I really like Laurie's idea. Could that be one of our goals with subdivisions? Say over 10, one has to be affordable.
Well, I think you can see from what we've seen submitted for the past couple of years, I don't think we're going to have much for conventional subdivisions. It can surely be a goal, and then the housing production committee will narrow it down off of that.
Right.
I don't know if that's going to get a lot of traction, but it absolutely can be added as a goal. I just don't see that as bringing a lot of, the housing production plan is to talk about the inclusionary zoning and different housing options, where that might not be. There's going to be other goals too between, I know you've been on those meetings, Helio. There's other components of it. There's the Council on Aging, there's different committees. So there's going to be stuff with grants and age in place programs. So we are only a component of the overall housing production plan. So we, as a planning board, are looking at it from the perspective of a planning standpoint. How are we going to address the housing needs of the town?
Okay.
So we could definitely add that. I don't think that's just my opinion. Obviously, I don't think that's one that they're really going to be looking at, but we can definitely add it.
I just think it's a good idea for other towns too. That's why. I mean, I know it doesn't specifically go to what type of housing, but that might be something some other towns would think of. And you said there is another town that does that somewhere.
There was, and it didn't gain much traction, and
Oh, it didn't, okay.
no, people would always go to one lot below it.
Okay,
No matter what the number is, they
Well-
would always try to avoid it.
I think we, in this conversation in prior meetings, I think we came to the conclusion that such proposal would not have to be contiguous, that it could be somewhere else. And
Right.
ultimately, we got to that point because we all agreed if you had 10 houses or 9 out of 10 at 2,800 to 3,400 square feet,
Right.
ranging from 999 to 1,499, you couldn't throw in something for 399.9
Right.
without degrading the rest of the development, right? So I think it's important. The question is, what language do we construct that's going to be viable and at the same time in the best interest of the town and entertain a builder? But that's the whole point of these things. They're not easy questions. They're not easy answers. So we can chip away at that and report back to Dan early next week. I'm a big fan, and I have been from day one. If people don't want the town to spread, then there's got to be places where the town goes up. So if I had to hang my hat on anything I'm interested in, it's going from commercial to mixed use to create residential opportunity above. And if anybody can't understand that that's the best way to preserve the pastures and the fields and the A's, B's, and C's that we want to preserve, then I need to be enlightened because I don't understand otherwise. So mixed use for me, the inclusion of mixed use overlay and entertaining existing corporations that are paying taxes now to use the same footprint and go up and create more of a tax basis for us while we achieve increased units in town, I don't see where there's a loss. So
Absolutely
I will
endorse
report to you
that, Nick.
earlier in the week about that.
Absolutely endorse that.
So, Mr. Chairman, would it be beneficial to say each board member provide a goal to
Yes.
me as staff,
Yes,
preferably within the next couple of days, so I
Sure.
can get that, because I have to get that to the people that are on the
okay. Yeah.
that through
Understood.
Serped that are making it, so they will prepare them with, like I said, the other groups involved. So we could present 5 goals. And
Absolutely.
if each member wants to send me a goal, I can just compile them and get them over to
sure.
the people that need it.
I
Town
also,
administration and Serped.
yeah, absolutely. I also want to just plant a seed, and it's not premature, but it's not at its maturity by any means. There's going to be a time when certain parts of the town will plus or minus age out because of the age of the dwelling, and just things happen, right? And maybe not in 25-year increments, but in 100-year increments, things happen. I know a long time ago, properties, 3 or 4 parcels owned by an individual became one. And a perfect example of that is the Bliss Corner District. I just want to plant a seed to start the thought process of where we might want to create opportunity for the increased density, the townhome, the condo, especially where we know there are postage stamp lots and aging structures, often where some investors now own 2 and 3 of the abutting properties. Just putting something in the framework where they might see opportunity in the future. It hasn't been, as far as I know, asked upon yet, but I know there are a few different scenarios and owners who would entertain such. And again, that ties into increased density, an affordable component, and basically the rejuvenation, the renewing of particular parcels that are aging and maybe not maintaining a certain standard as the town grows and things change. I'll expand on it. I hope you kind of understand what I'm saying, but I will expand on that. I just want to plant the seed to get everyone else's wheels spinning to see if we can collaborate and also create an opportunity. And that'll be part of my housing production plan suggestion. I'll formulate better words, but
Would through you, Mr. Chairman, would the board like me to forward again the last housing production plan, just so you can review it and kind of get a gauge on what they did last time? Would that be helpful to the board members?
It would be very helpful, but we have it, correct?
I believe I sent it, but
But
it
if
could
you
be
wanna
from,
send
it
it
could
one
be
more
from an
time, go
email
ahead.
from months ago, so
Okay.
you don't have to go searching for it. I
Fair.
can do that again.
Fair, send it.
Okay.
So I think between getting Dan these recommendations, us getting over to the hall and starting to design where and why we think the why should be. Again, it doesn't have to be contiguous, so we know we have an interest in the commercial corridor of Route 6, and then we can look upon other areas where we want to designate it, and we'll narrow that down over the next few weeks. I think that's going to give us great direction. And the other thing is, what plagues me a little bit, being part of this board and acting as best I can in the town's best interest, the amount of projects we have right now, I believe 1,186 units, et cetera, and over the time span whereby we think they might mature. What's the reality of that based on their agenda, based on their timelines? You know, are we gonna have a 90% success rate of those units? Are we gonna have a 7? Like, what do we expect? I'm only asking because as I have this conversation with my social circle on behalf of the town and me being part of the board, things like this come up. And the reality is, I don't know the answer to it. So I'm looking for some guidance or opinion from either members or Dan and Ross, the likelihood of these units that we counted, that we accumulated, maturing. What is it?
I'll throw a guess at it, and I think it's probably gonna be 1,186 units,
Okay,
especially with
And-
the 40Bs.
right. All right. So I won't bore us in this meeting, but when we get together again, we'll chase the numbers. It's just, once again, it puts us in a position where we're chasing the number. And I desperately want the public of Dartmouth to know that we're currently at, I believe, 7.81%. And the reason many of you are challenged by certain developments that are before us now is because we're not at 10%. And rest assured, the 2.19% that are missing are not just 2.19%, because as more projects come, we're
Right.
chasing our tail numerically. And I want the message to be clear that it's not that we don't have an interest in reaching the goal of 10%. It is very difficult to reach. I'm good with that. Does anybody else want to share anything? Dan, anything else that you want to share with us to guide us as far as what we report back to you, housing production wise?
No, I think we're good. Like I said, I'll send it out. Just like always, make sure you just reply individually back to me and not to the group.
Right. All right. If there's nothing further to be discussed, we can move on. If
So
that's the
number,
case.
oh,
Yep.
sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, all you.
So number 6 is just to make a motion to approve the minutes, assuming
Yep.
there's no corrections that need to be done for both the regular September 22nd meeting and also the workshop meeting for September 29th, which our meeting minutes person did a great job trying to
Wonderful.
consolidate a very lengthy meeting and a lot of words going around.
Yeah,
Just to be clear, you called it number 6, but that's number 5, minutes of both
Oh,
meetings.
I'm sorry. I didn't take my glasses off. I gotta go
That's all
back
right.
and forth.
That's all right. That's all right.
Yes,
So,
I'm sorry. Number 5.
right. Anyone?
so moved.
Second,
Motion moved by Margaret Sweet, seconded by Lori Miller to approve minutes. Margaret,
Yes,
Lori,
yes.
Helio,
Yes.
Nick, yes.
Right,
Bringing us number
now
6.
real number 6.
Go ahead. All yours, Dan.
Correspondence, typical just notification of filings in city of Fall River and town of Westport. I would recommend just to make a motion to acknowledge and file.
Do I have a motion?
So
So
moved.
moved.
Second.
Motion made by Helio Rosa, seconded by Lori Miller. Helio Rosa,
Yes.
Lori Miller,
Yes.
Margaret Sweet.
Yes,
Nick Cyclepatis, yes. Brings us to number 7. I'll let Dan get involved here again for your information, old business, new business.
Okay, as far as zoning applications, no new zoning board applications incoming, no new decisions. That'll change for next meeting. There were a few I saw on the docket, so I'll have some information for you for the next meeting on that. I'll skip subcommittee reports. I'll let you get back to that. But on the planners report, I sent you out some information that was requested at that workshop meeting. One thing I didn't send out, which I got information on so far, for the ADU permits, as of September 30th, we have nine applications for permits. So that was one thing I didn't have.
As of when?
September 30th.
Okay.
Yep. And the other thing we discussed at the workshop was to confirm that GAP meeting date for December, and that would be December 15th. So that was what we were looking to pencil in for our next in-person workshop meeting for the Dartmouth Future Zoning.
Appreciate that. Board members, does that date work for everybody?
that's for me.
Yeah, no objection.
Lori, you good?
I'm good. I
Excellent.
keep
So-
Mondays free.
Excellent. So we hereby confirm December 15th for our next workshop at Town Hall. Before we go down to the next item, subcommittee reports, does anybody have anything to offer? If not, we can move on to master plan implementation report and planning department updates. Dan?
Those will follow through on just our ongoing discussions about housing and land use. So I think we are in the right path for meeting a lot of the planning board goals for the master plan implementation.
Great. All right, so as far as chairperson's report, I just want to share with the public that we, the board, all members of the board on this, I'm sorry, I forgot the date already. A week ago, met at Town Hall and we had a publicly recorded meeting / workshop, which I thought was very constructive regarding housing and zoning. I think we're going to expand on that tremendously when each of us board members report to Town Hall and work with Dan, Ross, and the maps in a color coordinated way where we're going to begin to develop an overlay throughout the town that's going to address and create opportunity as it relates to proposed housing needs. We're not making believe, nor are we acting that we know. Surveys were put out, surveys were completed, and as you can see in here, SERPED is working on a housing production plan. And I want to add that Dan has been extremely helpful, Dan and Ross, with previous housing production information and trends, which have guided, they've definitely guided me. I'm sure they've guided all of us. So as a member of the board, I just want to promise the town that we are very, very focused on the housing crisis and the imminent housing need. And none of us are acting as if we know. We're just acting in the best interest of the town per our ability, collaborating over what we think we need. For me, it's pretty simple. I know many of you in the town want to preserve landscapes that, quite frankly, have been preserved for a long time. I know some of us throughout the town, as representatives of the town, in serving the town in a public way, are often challenged between the town's best interest, what you all may want, and what an owner's rights are. And all I ask is that, to the best of your ability, when questioning us or any other board or anything before us or even the ZBA, ask yourself too, what are the owner's rights? Because it's hard for us or any board to challenge an owner's rights. And I don't ever want that to be misconstrued for perhaps one of us or all of us to have a disinterest in what's best for the town. Ultimately, I want to say thank you to everybody. You guys have all been great to me, and I look forward to the next month, because once we start applying ourselves to that map in a constructive and collaborative way, although early, I think we're going to see, and this is to the town and to the public, I think we're going to see an overlay district that has the town's best interest slowly come to life. To take it a step further, that is not in our control. We are going to work hard to create something in the town's best interest, and then it has to follow the proper chain of command, which is ultimately town meeting, and we can share more of that as we go down that road. I certainly didn't know the process of the overlay design and implementation prior to becoming a board member. I'm sure there are people out there that are not certain of it either. And as we work towards it, I think sharing with them the process, the steps, and the time will only increase awareness and, quite frankly, buy-in for when we do get to a town meeting. So that's all I have to share. If anybody has anything to share, I would love to hear from each of you. If not, the next
Well said,
agenda
Nick.
item is special. Anyone for number 8? Unless we want to talk about anything else.
Motion to adjourn.
Second,
Motion made by Helio Rosa and seconded by Margaret Sweet to adjourn tonight's meeting. Helio Rosa,
Yes.
Margaret Sweet,
yes.
Lori Miller,
Yes.
Nick Cyclepatis, yes. All right. Thank you all. Per Dan's request, next couple of days or so, let's make sure we get something to him about the housing production plan. And hopefully by the middle of to the end of next week, there'll be multiple colors on those maps, and our thoughts will be a little bit further than they are today.
And we have a Mylar to sign. Don't forget that too.
Got it.
Will that be ready tomorrow?
Yes, it's already in the office.
Perfect.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
All
you,
right.
everybody. Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you all, and good night.
Have
to
a good
everybody.
night.
Thank you. Good night, guys.